Teachers are much more than mere transmitters of knowledge. They have the power to shape destinies, transform attitudes and values, and even redefine the future of their students. With a unique ability to inspire and guide, these educators not only teach essential skills, but also shape character, preparing students to live fully and responsibly in a society that demands more and more. There is no doubt about the importance of this professional in any student's life. However, what happens when the teacher, instead of being an inspiration, becomes the figure who destroys all of this, leading the student down a path for which they were unprepared? This is the question that, unfortunately, the parents of a student at Las Brisas School were forced to confront when faced with an absolutely absurd and unbelievable situation. Today, on Dark Dossiers, we will reveal the most disturbing details of this case. You will follow the exchanges of messages between the teacher and the student, the secret notes passed between them, the entries in the school's occurrence book, the principal's phone calls to the police, the recordings of the parents at the principal's office, and even the teacher's call to the student's parents. In addition, we will have the teacher's interrogation at the police station and recordings of the trial hearings. All the material collected during the criminal process with the latest updates on this case will be presented here in this video. I can assure you that everything you will see here is completely true. This video was produced after in-depth research so that you have access to all the available content on the internet about this case. So don't forget to leave a like and a comment. Use Dark Dossiers to help the channel grow. It's quick and makes all the difference. Now let's dive into today's case. Brittany Zamora. She was born on March 16th, 1991 in the state of Arizona, USA. And in 2018, when the events we are about to explore occurred, Brittany was only 27 years old. Brittany seemed like any other young woman with a calm and promising life. Married for 3 years to Daniel Zamora, her longtime companion whom she had known since school days, Brittany seemed to live a modern fairy tale. The couple shared a passion for life and adventure, engaging in thrilling activities like hang gliding, always together, creating memories that seemed eternal. Love and happiness overflowed in every moment they spent side by side. An academic star, Brittany was the #1 student in her class at Arizona State University. With an impeccable record in both her undergraduate and graduate studies, she earned the respect of everyone. In 2016, while teaching at Little Tom School, her talent was finally recognized, and she was awarded the prestigious title of Teacher of the Year. But behind this image of success, there was a much darker and tragic reality about to be revealed. The assistant principal of the school where Brittany taught had always admired her work. When he was given the opportunity to take the helm at Las Brisas Academy Elementary School, a renowned institution in Goodyear, Arizona, he didn't hesitate to invite her to join his team. In 2017, Brittany began teaching English to the 6th grade at Las Brisas, a promising new phase in her career. But in 2018, everything that seemed perfect began to crumble, turning her life into an endless nightmare. And you will understand exactly why. It all started on March 22nd, when Brittany, returning home after another day at work, was surprised by the Goodyear police. She was detained and taken to the police station, but what led to this shocking moment? To understand the reason for her arrest, we need to go back a few weeks. Let's follow the timeline of events based on witness testimonies and the evidence the police managed to gather. What you are about to see are real and cruel facts. If you're not brave enough to face the truth in its rawest form, this is the time to stop the video. In early February, after one of her classes, Brittany sent what seemed like an innocent message to her group of students. "I'll be out of school tomorrow, so if you guys get bored, message me because I'll definitely be bored." A simple message, but unknowingly, it opened the door to something much darker. One of her students, a boy just 13 years old, decided to respond. What seemed like a casual exchange of words quickly escalated into something more. Within days, their messages became more frequent, and soon the messaging app was set aside, and they began communicating through Instagram Direct, a private platform where everything could remain more secret. The first physical act occurred on one of the last days of school, when the boy, whose identity was withheld for safety reasons, was the last in line to leave. As they exchanged a hug, Brittany held him and kissed him. It wasn't just any kiss, but a kiss much more intense than expected. On February 16th, the exchange of messages between Brittany and the student continued. She asked where he was, and he replied that he was at his grandparents' house. Without hesitation, she suggested they meet, and he readily agreed. That same night, Brittany parked her car a short distance from the boy's grandparents' house. Stealthily, he left the house and walked to her car. The encounter that took place there, although I cannot go into detail, was exactly what you're probably imagining. An absolutely disturbing and irreparable situation. An even more absurd encounter occurred inside the classroom itself. After performing a task for a talent show, the students were leaving. This particular student was packing his backpack, while another was on the computer. As the student was leaving, the teacher asked if he wouldn't like to play with her, if you know what I mean. When he didn't understand the innuendo, she made it clearer, saying something like, "Put your hand here, you know where this hand is going to be." Yes, she invited him to do something completely inappropriate in the classroom. While all of this was happening, another student who was on the computer in the room witnessed the scene and, in his testimony, described the situation as uncomfortable. He stated that throughout the entire ordeal, the teacher never took her eyes off him, creating a tense and unsettling atmosphere. The exchanged messages, along with the utterly sickening behavior, began to leak among the students. In March, the school's administration, under the leadership of Principal Timothy, received a shocking report from 3 students who exposed what was happening. Timothy, who had been responsible for recommending Brittany to the school, immediately launched a discreet investigation. However, despite all efforts, he couldn't gather much concrete information to support the allegations. What Timothy was able to uncover was enough to raise even more concern. He confirmed that Brittany showed a clear preference for this particular student, favoring him in various activities. She also acted more condescendingly toward him when she caught him talking during class, while other students who committed the same mistake faced much harsher reprimands. Armed with this information, Timothy documented everything in the school's occurrence book. When a student commented out loud during class that he believed Brittany and the student were meeting outside of school, Timothy tried to downplay the situation. He said he didn't believe the rumors, but acknowledged that the conversations among the students about a possible inappropriate relationship were spreading rapidly. But the situation got out of control. It didn't take long for Brittany to find out what was happening. She rushed to Timothy's office crying and defended herself, claiming that it was all a lie. She said she didn't know what had made the students spread such rumors and that her only concerns were her career and her husband, asserting that she would never jeopardize the most precious things in her life. However, a week later, reality hit hard. The students' parents showed up at the school and, with indignation, filed a formal complaint against Brittany, accusing her of abuse. What had once seemed like a series of rumors had now turned into a serious accusation, and Brittany's life began to crumble. The boy's parents started noticing strange changes in his behavior. He was acting differently, seemed restless, and most concerning, he couldn't stop fiddling with his phone, something that had never happened before. Suspicious, they decided to install a spy app on his device. The app was set up to alert them whenever certain keywords appeared in the conversations. Among them were the heaviest words, and as baby repeatedly showed up in the messages, all sent from Brittany's Instagram account, the stepmother received the alert. After this discovery, the parents didn't hesitate to read the messages exchanged between their son and the teacher. The father, filled with anguish, approached the boy and, with complete sincerity, asked if there had been any intimate contact between him and Brittany. With a silent sorrow, the boy confirmed. The confirmation that something deeply wrong was happening led the father on the same day to call Principal Timothy on March 21, 2018, and schedule a meeting for the following day. The following day, Timothy made the decision to act. He called the police station and reported everything he knew. The police initiated the investigation, and the next day, Brittany was arrested. At the station, Brittany was interrogated but remained silent about the details of the case. Despite crying and claiming that she had the best husband in the world, she revealed nothing. She was informed that she could either be held in custody until the trial or released to await trial in freedom. But Brittany was not released. She remained in custody until the trial, and the case, which had seemed confined to the school, grew to enormous proportions, being widely covered in the media. During the investigation, the police found a series of notes exchanged between Brittany and the student, along with increasingly disturbing messages such as, "You will be my wife at some point in this crazy life." These revelations only deepened the severity of the charges. In March 2019, Daniel, Brittany's husband, used her Instagram profile to post a message defending her innocence and claiming that the case had been distorted by the media. For over a year, Brittany vehemently denied all the charges and refused to speak with the press. But in July 2019, during the trial, she made an unexpected turn and pled guilty to all the charges. In a tense and emotional moment, Brittany apologized to the victim and their family. She tried to justify her behavior as something completely out of her character, claiming she wasn't the person being portrayed and that the media had turned her into a monster. She stated that the actions that led her to this point did not reflect her true essence, and that, in her view, the media had distorted the entire truth. Although Brittany could have faced up to 44 years in prison, her status as a first-time offender and the absence of a criminal record resulted in a sentence of 20 years, with the possibility of parole. However, even after the sentencing, the media continued to cover the case intensely, sparking a divided public debate. Many considered the sentence insufficient given the gravity of the crime, while others questioned whether she truly deserved to spend so many years behind bars. In May 2020, Brittany made a decision that shocked many. She filed for divorce from Daniel. She claimed that everything that had happened had destroyed their relationship irreparably, and that there was no way to save the marriage. While some speculated that her action was an attempt to protect her husband from public shame, others believed that Brittany had indeed become involved with someone in prison, which might have influenced her decision. The following year, in 2021, Brittany made a formal request to be transferred to an internal job within the prison, which was approved after a careful review of the protocols. She was assigned to work as a teaching assistant, helping to educate the female inmates, always under the supervision of prison staff. Some saw this change as Brittany's attempt to find some purpose in such a desolate and punishment-driven environment, trying to rebuild a part of her life within that grim context. Her eligibility for parole is scheduled for 2039, when Brittany will be around 48 years old. In the meantime, the victim's family, traumatized and seeking privacy, took strict measures to protect their identity. They moved to another state, and to ensure their safety, their faces were blurred in videos, their names were concealed with black bars, and they were permitted to use pseudonyms whenever they needed to be mentioned in the case documents. The victim's family was not satisfied with Brittany's conviction and also filed a civil lawsuit against two people. The first was the school principal, Timothy, who was sued for failing to act legally and ethically in the situation, as well as for lying to the parents and the police about what he knew regarding Brittany's behavior. The second person sued was Daniel, Brittany's husband. Although there was no direct evidence linking him to the abuse case, he was accused of trying to downplay the severity of the situation, advising Brittany during phone calls and attempting to discredit the seriousness of the facts. For the victim's family, Daniel's actions were equally wrong, as knowing what was happening, he took no action that could have prevented their child's suffering. These processes are still ongoing, and it is expected that, in the coming years, new developments will emerge. The victim's family continues to seek justice, fighting to ensure that their child's suffering is not forgotten. The trauma caused by the abuse is deep, and while society has focused on Brittany's trial, many question how such a thing could have happened in the first place. To this day, the students who were at the same school and witnessed part of the events are still grappling with the emotional consequences of what they experienced. Brittany Zamora's case has become a shocking example of how educational institutions can fail to identify inappropriate behaviors and protect their students. Even though the students had started commenting on the meetings and the improper relationship between the teacher and the student, the school was slow to act, allowing the situation to escalate. This raises the crucial question: how many other similar cases might be happening in schools around the world without society being fully aware of it? Brittany's case has turned into a warning to parents, educators, and educational institutions, highlighting the need for constant vigilance over the behavior of everyone involved in the educational process in order to prevent such tragedies from happening again. The questions continue to echo. What will the life of that student be like after such trauma? How will he cope with the weight of being the victim of such a grave abuse, committed by someone he should have been able to trust? How can the educational system evolve to ensure that similar cases don't happen again? And above all, what is the true responsibility of authorities and educators in situations like this? These questions, still without definitive answers, continue to haunt us. As time passes, Brittany Zamora's case remains widely discussed, generating controversy, outrage, and deep reflections on the limits of human behavior and the fundamental role of education in shaping young minds. The fact that an educator, someone entrusted with complete faith to guide and teach, was responsible for such a cruel and inhuman act challenges our entire understanding. The victim's family's tireless fight for justice is a difficult but essential battle. They remain steadfast in their efforts to ensure that cases like this never happen again, and that the suffering of the victims is not minimized or forgotten. And now, I want to know your opinion. What do you think of the sentence given to Brittany? Was it fair? And what about the actions of Principal Timothy and Brittany's husband Daniel? Do you believe they could have done something different to prevent this disaster? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next case.